Hello and welcome. I am Ralph Ann. I am the confidence coach. And for 30 years, I've helped women just like you show up looking and feeling their absolute best. And this is kind of a combination of my YouTube 15 minutes of fame and just a little bit of, you know, maybe let me explain. So I am working on, for those of you who don't know, I have been working on a documentary for pageants and pageant queens in particular. And normally the 15 minutes of fame, which is still what I do, is that I take ordinary women that are doing extraordinary things in their lives and in their community. And earlier this year, I thought how cool it would be, to do a pageant documentary. Now, I have been, had this love affair with pageants since I was 14 years old. I am now 49 years old. So you can do the math. And I've played every role. I've been a title holder. I was Miss Virginia back in 1998. I was a consultant for the Miss America organization for 14 years on the preliminary level and state level. On at some point, I've been a judge. I've been a coach. I've done all the things. And so earlier this year, it just was kind of God put it on my heart to kind of come back into pageants. And, then there was the idea of the documentary, and then there's going to be a book, and there's just going to be all these things. But anyway, to kind of sum it up, um, fast forward, the best way for me to get the information that was going to be most beneficial for this documentary, basically for you, would be to go back as a contestant. So after 25-year retirement, I went back into pageants as a contestant. And in June or July of this year, I did a lot of research because if I'm going to do something, I need it to at least line up. I'm a women's empowerment advocate. And although I represent all women, and my mission in life is to uplift, empower, and encourage all women, I personally represent women over 40 and the plus size community. And so it was very important for me to be in a pageant that basically also had those principles, that followed those guidelines that basically aligned with what, I believe in. And so I did my research. I narrowed it down to three. Yes, out of all the hundreds of pageants out there, I was able to narrow it down to three. Out of those three, that's where I applied basically on a local level. And one of those pageants was the USOA. For those of you who may be new, this is the United States of America Miss Pageant. And so I did a little digging and I found out that, I had not aged out at age 49, which was kind of cool. They accepted my age. They were not opposed to me being a plus size, which was awesome because I am, a plus size model. And it's very important for me to, represent. One of the things that I like to do as a plus size model is take one for the team. I just feel like, there are plus size pageants, but I think it's very important for me to be, to be a role model, to be an inspiration. So I basically take one for the team, and I went into a straight size pageant as a woman over 40 and a full figure. And tonight, what I want to do is I want to talk to you a little bit about my experience. So this will be featured. Some of you are watching this on Facebook. Some of you are watching this on YouTube, on my actual YouTube channel. But anyway, so I just want to share with you what my experience was like. So the pageant was this past week. It was on a Sunday and a Monday. So I checked into my hotel on Saturday. Sunday, we started with like an orientation. We had a brunch, and then we went right into rehearsals, which was a lot of fun. So let me just say, I do want to point out that overall, this was a good experience. I enjoyed myself. The caliber of women that this pageant is attracting is by far top notch. There were 30 contestants combined from the DC, Virginia, and Maryland areas. There's a Miss category, Ms., Mrs., which I represented. And then there were also some teen delegates as well. So there was just a huge variety of women. Age wasn't a factor really at all when it came to delegate participation. Um, it was well diverse. There were women of color, probably more than any pageant that I've ever been in or competed in or participated in, like ever. So that was very impressive. The director, I mean, I just think, she's amazing. She's in the military, and I am, very respectful of our military. And so I love the fact that that's even, you know, an option because of, sometimes the traditional role that pageants have played. There's just a very particular person that maybe they would consider being in their pageant, being their director, what have you. And so, just so from the beginning, I was like, okay, this is kind of cool. I can tell this is, going to be a very diverse experience. And it was. So, one of my favorite things I will have to say was for sure the opening number. That was fun. You may or may not know, to perform on Broadway is on my bucket list. And so anything with involves like lights and stages and music and all the things, I love that. That was a great experience. So overall, though, I would say the one area that probably maybe stuck with me slash concerned me with the most was that when I did my research with the pageant, like I said, they were aligned with being a women empowerment pageant, all the things. And prior to, we had no knowledge of who the judges are, which is very common. That's not uncommon in a pageant. Um, However, I will say the one thing that maybe caught me a little bit off guard was that out of the five judges, three of them were men. Um, and although they were very qualified men, in a women empowerment organization, it is historically known that men just typically judge a bit differently than women. And so that definitely kind of caught me off guard. I was able to talk to each and every one of the judges, as all of us were. And, because I am a women's empowerment advocate, it was just very important for me to get across the message that I was here to represent all women, but especially women over 40 in the plus size community. None of the judges really, you know, and to be fair, I am 49 years old with a very diverse, pretty deep background, and my bio is loaded, if I must say so myself. I do have a very impressive bio, and I did have a couple of judges tell me that. However, I kept trying to bring it back to the reason why I was there. I'm there to be on stage to bring voice to the underrepresented plus size women and women over 40. And so I just kind of kept bringing it back around, when they wanted to talk about, different things, degree that I got, 25 years ago or whatever. That's fine, but I really wanted to, use this opportunity to speak my truth and, and to represent and also, to point out that I went in there, not in total full glam. I decided that I was going to compete this time, being a 49-year-old, being, plus size, not really bringing on the full glam like I usually do. So, I did my natural hair. I didn't do anything like this. I did kind of minimal, I mean, I did full makeup, but I didn't spend a lot of time on makeup. My wardrobe was probably pretty glam, but I didn't really do like a full glam gown. I really wanted to see what it was like to compete being my just authentic, not over the top self. And I I really had a good time. I just want to say that this is a great pageant. If you are wanting something that just is kind of, to me, maybe more on the glitz side, for a plus size woman of 40, I think it really is going to depend on the person. Like I say, it always depends on the judges. It really depends, on who the judges are. But I did have a good experience. I just want to touch on some of my notes. I think, in retrospect, there was definitely an opportunity that, and this is for, any pageant director or anyone who, is a judge. Like I said, I am a director. I represent the voluptuous pageants. I'm very proud of that. And Curvy Girls USA, something we're rolling out soon too. Um, when you are a judge or looking for judges, I do think that is very important that your judges are aware of the mission statement of the pageant, and that they are totally, 100% aligned with what the pageant's mission statement is. Again, I am a women's empowerment advocate, and the pageant was basically, also along the lines of being a women empowerment pageant. And I personally did not really get that, vibe from any of the judges that talked to me. But, like I said, it just depends. A different day, a different judge, a different experience. Um, the other thing, in regards to the judges, I think, it's important for me that the judges panel reflects the type of delegates that you are inviting in. And I know that the winner is always it's going to vary. And I didn't win. So I wanted to come on here and be very candid and just, tell you the positive things about my experience, but also the things that maybe concerned me a little bit. So, as a plus size woman that was told, and I did get a quote from the corporate office, from the national director, saying that a woman over 45, a plus size person that's married with adult children, would definitely still be a good fit for this pageant. So, with that said, none of the judges were plus size. And again, that could be circumstantial. I mean, again, they were very qualified. But to me, in my opinion, I do think that the judges panel should reflect the delegates that you're inviting in, because it's very important that women see themselves represented. And when you're put into a situation where you're being judged by people who don't know you, I think the thing that's most comforting is that you see yourself being represented. Um, I did not see myself represented. Again, 3 out of the 5 judges were men. There were 2 women who were, I would guess, over 40, but were also, very thin, one Caucasian, one woman of color. I did not see myself represented in that room, in that panel of judges. So that's just me. But, I don't want it to sound like, as a women's empowerment advocate, that I'm anti-man. I'm not. I just feel like, even though they are qualified in the sense of pageants and fashion, I just don't always find it necessary, because I know that most men, or a lot of men, I'll be a little less harsh, a lot of men, their idea of beauty is a young, pretty girl. I mean, just call a spade a spade. I'm very candid about how I give information. And I just feel, historically, men like to see young, pretty girls. And when you have them judge a pageant, historically, that's what a pageant has meant to many people. So I'm just saying that doesn't have to be the case. But, like my grandmother used to say, is like, sometimes it's just better to kind of keep yourself in a situation that you're not going to be, that's not going to kind of make you look a little suspect, in other words. So that's something I would be a little bit careful about. Um, and there were a couple of other things that I just wanted to point out. Uh, da 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 da. Do, do, do. Yes, that kind of is that. So yeah, so enough picking on the judges for now. But uh, there was another thing too. So also as a women's empowerment advocate and a life coach, I try to be very glass half full, very open minded. Not perfect, but I spend my career encouraging other people, encouraging other women. And so our final question was something to the degree of, what has been your biggest failure and how have you overcome it? Now, I'm not perfect by any means, but the word failure left my vocabulary about a decade ago. It's just not something it's just not something I think about. So, granted, we never know what our on stage question would be, but for me, it would have been more of like something like, what has been maybe your biggest obstacle and how have you overcome it? Just kind of staying in that positive realm. Again, this was a women empowerment pageant. And so I think that it's just very important to kind of keep that momentum going, that we are here to uplift, inspire, and empower, So, because, when you ask me my biggest failure, I couldn't tell you. I did try to divert it a little bit, into a positive. But, had you asked me about obstacles, then yes, by all means, because I have overcome health issues. I've overcome, my business being closed during COVID, and I still had to pay the rent anyway. Overcome so many things, just like so many women. We have definitely had obstacles in our life that we've overcome. So, just to say, I thought that definitely caught me a little off guard as well, as I'm sure it did or would have many of you. So, anyway, I have requested my scores. I have not received my scores yet. I was hoping to have it, but I know our director, she's very busy. Everybody's got to get back to work. And she has told me that, once she's able to get scores back, she will share those scores. So as soon as I get my scores shared with me, I will share them with you. I'll be back just so we can kind of go over feedback. Like I said, as a coach, as a consultant, as a director, as a judge myself, and as now as a contestant again, I guess I'm going to do this again. Little spoiler alert. It's just very important for me to get feedback, as it is for all of you queens. It's very important when you're competing. I don't know about you, but 90% of why I'm doing it needs to be content and feedback. So pictures, video, um, and then feedback, because I need to know, how to course correct. And even though it's really just a matter of perspective and opinion, I'm kind of curious. I'm very curious to know, how did I do after 25 years, everybody? So, anyway, so overall, like I said, I had a really fun experience. The women there were top notch. I got a chance to talk to a whole lot of ladies that I will be interviewing on my 15 Minutes of Fame. And, I'm so excited about that. This documentary is definitely, definitely, definitely just going in the direction that I wanted it to go in. There's going to be all types of, behind the scenes. I'll be able to give you like little candid interviews like this when I compete again. And I will be. Actually, I've gotten a couple of offers. I'm very excited. I have a couple of fashion shows that I'll be modeling in as plus size model, of course. A couple speaking engagements coming up. I'm very excited about that. So, overall, on a scale of 1 to 10, because judges score on a scale of 1 to 10, and so do I. So, on a scale of 1 to 10, I would say I would give my experience probably a 6. Overall expenses for the pageant, I spent about $2,500. That included pageant fees, travel with hotel, car rental, Uber, wardrobe. Now, to be fair, I was starting after a 25-year retirement, so I had to start wardrobe from scratch. I did not go in full shebang, full glam. My wardrobe budget would have doubled if I had, so I was trying to keep it, trying to keep it pretty fair. I did raise about $1,000 in sponsorship, so it offset the cost a bit. So my net cost was about 1,500. Um, but yeah, like I said, overall, I would give it about a 6. It's a great pageant, you know. Everybody that one that's going to nationals, amazing woman. I had a chance, like I said, to talk with probably over half of the contestants. I was trying to stay focused and zoned in, but I was just so excited to really, as being an observer and know why I was truthfully truthfully there. The big picture was to just be on the inside and see how these women were interacting and the experience that they were having and getting their feedback. And I got some awesome feedback. I don't want to share any names, but like I said, I will be featuring a lot of the queens on my 15 minutes of fame. So if you are interested in the USOA pageant on any level, definitely, or any pageant, just if you just do your research, the more you can find out ahead of time, the better. Is this pageant for me? I don't know. Like I said, a different day, different judges. I don't know. But, I will be moving on to other systems. I will still compete in a couple straight size pageants. So I'm able to make the comparison. I will be competing in a couple plus size pageants just so we can maybe have a little something fun to compare it to. But, overall, like I said, it's great. Just do your research. Definitely make sure that the pageant is aligned with your social platform, with your mission, and, get your opportunity to speak that truth. Definitely get that through. I really tried to get my point across. I don't know that I did. Honestly, I don't know that I did, but I tried. Um, but it's a great pageant. Like I said, the opening number was definitely by far like my favorite. But hopefully I'll get those scores back. There is a live stream. I have not watched the whole live stream yet. I've only watched the opening number, so it was fun. But if you are a curvy girl and you are looking for an experience that is definitely for you, I am starting the Curvy Girl USA series, and we're going to have our first online pageant December 17th. I also am the state director for Voluptuous California pageant. And so if you are in California, or if you know someone who is, definitely just, DM me. My information will be in the show notes. And, it was great. I cannot complain. Like I said, I'm always going to have some concerns and, just my way of critiquing and being able to get the information out to you. So, you have a very honest, transparent view of my experience. So, anyway, that is that, my queens. And I hope that this was, if it added some value, if you found it helpful, definitely let me know. And I will be back. And as always, here's to you becoming the best version of you.